Fucking finally. Hi, guys. Whew, I'm here to talk to you about a film. A film that might most probably, at some point in this halfway through the year list that I'm going to make of top films, this film will be somewhere in that hierarchy, if you will. Now, I'm going to preface this with this movie doesn't rewrite any rules. In fact, this exact premise has been done by John Woo a couple years ago with a film called Silent Night. Now, if you recall that movie, it had absolutely no dialogue whatsoever. And it was about a father taking revenge after the justice system fails him for not putting away the gang members responsible for his son catching a stray bullet on Christmas Day in their lawn. And it's pretty fucking horrible. But our man decides to go on a mission. When the justice system says, sorry, sir, go away with your peasant grief, he decides, all right, bet. And he takes justice into his own hands, as any great revenge film typically goes. And he murks, kills, disembowels, and absolutely just skins everyone he can find responsible for his son's death. And it's quite a movie. I mean, it's John Woo at his wooiest. You either know him from his earlier days of Hard Boiled or his later days of Face Off. He is a great director. This movie is not by him. It's by a different director called Patsy. I will not butcher his last name, but you can find it on IMDb. The movie is called Motor City, and it was in my top 5 most anticipated for the month of July, and secretly one of my most anticipated for the year when I found out it was going to come out this year. The movie is a silent film about a soon-to-be husband who is falsely accused of trafficking drugs. He goes away for 25 years, and his fiancée at the time is led to believe he is in fact this horrible man that's been put away, doing the things in secret that the police claim he's been doing. Now, it's not true. He's been framed. And the man behind the character who frames him is none other than Ben Foster, who is probably one of the more underrated actors of our time. I mean, Ben Foster I remember seeing him for the first time in the movie Hostage with Bruce Willis back in the early 2000s. And man, I said to myself, that guy, I need him in more shit. And then he was in a few other films, ended up in the first Mechanic with Jason Statham. And I was like, more of him. And then for a little while, he went radio silent. And he's been kind of popping up as of late in a few films. Last year, he came out in King Ivory, which was an incredible crime, epic drama about meth dealers and gang wars and SWAT. And he played a hitman, and he's just absolutely phenomenal. Anything he's in almost always is specifically catered to him. It's like he knows what projects to pick, even if they are independent hidden gems that no one really gives him credit for or watch. But Ben Foster is absolutely, to me, kind of a legend. Like, I really just love everything he's in. This is just to list off because there's way too many and I didn't want to miss him, but just to give you a taste of how affected I am that he doesn't get enough credit. He was in The Punisher, all right, King Ivory I just mentioned. He was also in Galveston, which is a hell of a movie that no one watched, unfortunately. 30 Days of Night, of course. The Contractor, Alpha Dog was one of his craziest roles. I loved him in that. Leave No Trace Behind was one of his recent ones. Lone Survivor, Pandorum, one of my all-time favorite sci-fi horror films ever made. Medieval, The Mechanic, Christie, Hell or High Water, 310 to Yuma. My God, can we put some respect on this man's name? He's great. He's incredible. So he's in this. And I think I've just gloated about him for like 2 out of this 5-minute runtime so far. Alan Ritchson is the lead, and again, someone who has been he's been in the industry for over 18 years, according to one of his interviews. But as of late, since his first season of Reacher, which was loved those books before the show, so I'm eagerly awaiting season 4 and season 5 that are being season 4 is about to release, season 5 is being shot. Love the Reacher series, the book series, and the series alone is fantastic, so I'm so excited. But Alan Ritchson is just such a charismatic dude. He does humor, he does action, he does drama, and here he does probably some of his best acting as a silent protagonist, and it throws back to the days of the 70s. And this movie takes place in 1977, but in Detroit, and it takes place, and it gives this aura, you know, that you get from heroes of the 70s, you know, things that reminded me a little bit of like Clint Eastwood, sort of silent, brutal protagonist that just, yeah, I mean, you every shot, every micro movement in his face tells you how he's feeling. He's just really a great actor. I'm so happy to see him get more roles. And you know, if James Gunn, I'm a big fan of the Batman. Robert Pattinson is my favorite Batman next to Keaton and Ben. But I gotta be honest with you, if James Gunn really is serious about the DCU's Batman, Alan Ritchson has, not just in terms of look, has my vote, but he absolutely has my vote in terms of acting chops. He is quite an actor that can definitely deliver mystery, humor, masculinity, and in this film, you know, he's the driving force of the story. How the story unfolds, I won't tell you, because there are a couple of surprises, nothing groundbreaking, but in this kind of story where simplicity is best, they deliver these little twists in a way that felt very satiating, very natural, very organic to a story that was already kind of leaning into the simplicity. And I mean, it kind of has to. The script really has no dialogue, with the exception of maybe like 3 to 4 lines that are kind of ambient pieces of dialogue that are there to just maybe push the emotion a little bit more, but it doesn't tell a story that you don't already know. But the movie is about him coming out of jail and taking revenge for his wife. And I've got to tell you, this movie scratches an itch. And I will say, and I hate to do this, but I feel like Christopher Nolan would be aggressively allergic to this kind of storytelling, because you know, with big directors nowadays, it is about treating your audience kind of like, well, they're dumb. Their precious time and their precious attention span needs to be catered to every second, right? And so most movies will bury themselves in exposition and in exploration through dialogue. And this movie really is about emotion, the characters, insinuations, perception, and what the actors are delivering through. But not just that. The score and the soundtrack of this movie is among some of the best, if not the best, I've heard this year. Now, these aren't original songs, but they're specially catered songs from the 70s that fit these scenes in such a way that they tell a story. What really is a benefit to the dialogue, well, the lacking of dialogue, is that these characters' story is very easy to empathize with. Losing someone you love and all the baggage you find out about their life, like all that kind of stuff is incredibly empathetic. It drives you to be immersed. You don't have to think that hard, but yet somehow the director, and Alan Ritchson, who was extremely involved in the movie and producing and writing it, or in doing certain changes in the script, because this script existed in Hollywood. Apparently, it's one of those famous blacklist scripts that have been around for like 18 years, and people have been trying to make it, but they just don't know how. There's just something about Hollywood that they're like, it's funny. We started from the silent film era, and we don't know how to go back. You know, we don't know how to tell those kinds of stories again, which is really kind of interesting. It's a testament to maybe what we've lost and what we've traded it in for, because this script being black, being in the black book of hidden, being in the black is just kind of crazy. Like, that you couldn't make this. No visionary director could look at this and go, yeah, I can do this. I can do something with this. And it took this director, who doesn't have a lot of credits under his belt, but fuck me, everything that's come before, I'm gonna watch now. The reason this is one of my favorite movies of the year is not because it's rewriting any rules. Again, we've seen this premise before with Silent Night. There's probably a couple movies out there that I myself probably don't know about that have done this in terms of like a silent action film, right? Where there's no dialogue, not completely silent, but where dialogue isn't the exposition dump that we're used to. But this film's focus on detail is something that really took me to a place. Like, it took me to a place, and it took me to a place of like pain and anger for him, because you're so instinctively in need. We're always with the instinct of having to say and express something, right? So watching a movie propose to you the highest level of pain, anguish, and grief, and then having the characters not be able to portray that through dialogue, right? Through its aggressive dialogue, and actually suppress it in certain scenes, and then let it boil up until we get to these action sequences that are viscerally stimulating for me. I mean, there is an elevator scene that is probably the scene that most people are going to talk about when it comes to this movie, but it's not the only scene that is executed so well, but it is like the standout sequence. Alan Ritchson, during an interview, said he fought for that scene because they were dealing with a lot of dealing with the usual pre-production baggage that comes with, like, are we going to make this movie? We're losing funding. We got to cut the script a little short. And that was one of the scenes that was going to go. And he fought, apparently, against the director, which they had a good relationship apparently, but he really fought against the director to keep that scene. He was like, if anything goes, it's not that scene. And man, you know what? He really did this film a favor, because that elevator scene, in terms of American filmmaking, is probably one of the better action sequences I've seen in an American action film recently. And it's quite a scene, man. It's brutal, it's bloody, it's well choreographed, it's in a small space. Elevator fight sequences are nothing new, but this movie, along with its aesthetic, along with its score, and along with the baggage that came with the character he was fighting, because Pablo Schreiber is in this movie. Didn't know that. Didn't recognize him because he had long. Usually, I'm used to seeing with the buzz cut halo hair, but Den of Thieves, like. But no, he had this long hair and this like fucking beard. He just looked, like an edgy 70s hard-boiled detective cop. And he's a piece of shit. He's an asshole in this. And there's a buildup of animosity between these two that just is so cathartic when you get to it. Along with that, this movie just has so many influences. I mean, our main character is a vet. And so a lot of this movie reminded me, and this is more for you gamers out there, but if you've ever played the Mafia games, the Mafia trilogy, Mafia 3, this had a lot of those elements in there that really worked for me. Visually, the movie has to carry your attention. In terms of audio, well, the music has to carry your emotion. And, that symbiosis, that synchronicity between the two was just so well done and so mated and so, what's the word I'm looking for? It was so well cooked. I hate saying someone cooked, but what I'm trying to say is not that term. What I'm trying to say is that every ingredient matters, right? The process of creating a dish. I guess I'm just saying the long version of what he cooked means, aren't I? Damn. And this feels like a finely cooked revenge dish. The violence is great. There's some shots in here that kind of reminded me of The Crow as well. I'll be transparent. I think The Crow is the best revenge film ever made. And that's a big thing to say. One, it's a classic, of course, so like that's kind of expected. But in a world of so many great revenge movies, I think that The Crow embodies some of the purest ideas of revenge and love and losing. And I think for me personally, that's like a very personal topic. So The Crow resonates with me in ways that really make it such a cathartic watch. But visually, this movie embodies some of those visual tones of The Crow, and a lot of the hard-boiled action and violence of the 70s, but with this tone that comes with modern violence and modern choreography. And throughout the film, there is a slow pace that it takes its time to invest you in the characters. I did not in any way, shape, or form, by the way, have an issue with some of the slower paced moments in this film, because I think that every single shot informed the story. And if I wasn't visually appealing, then there was something great to hear, which is really not saying much because the fucking movie is visually appealing almost all of the time. And the practicality behind the action sequences towards the end, not just the elevator sequence, but there's a fantastic fight on a car that I was just so impressed with. The physicality of these actors, the physicality of the story. And this movie has my endorsement through and through. Don't be surprised if it ends up in my top 10 of the year. Top 5, maybe. I haven't really looked at my list. I've been actually wondering if I should do a halfway of the year. What are my top 5? But this was such a lovely. I had a feeling from the moment I was watching this trailer, from the moment I saw this trailer, I had a feeling. I was like, I'm gonna love this movie. It's gonna tickle my fancy. It's gonna flick the bean. Whatever. That's not. Wait, wrong gender. I loved this movie, and it has flaws. I don't think a film that lacks dialogue is everyone's cup of tea. It is a hard-boiled action movie that has a slow build for some, even though it's not doing anything new. It is deep, and it is for this vehicle, this kind of film, this sort of vehicle that we have this kind of film in. It's not usual. It's not normal. And it really does emphasize visual. It does emphasize style, but somehow the style comes with a lot of substance. And the violence comes with a lot of practicality. And most of all, in a year full of big franchise names, big sequels, this or the other, man, it's just refreshing to see a movie like this in theaters that's got that much love put into it. And so that's why, like Redux, this is definitely going to be one of my favorites of the year. I highly recommend you watch it. Now, you know what? I did find a negative. Alan Ritchson wears 2 wigs in this motherfucker that are horrible. Fucking hell. Luckily, his performance kept me distracted from the bad wig. But then he goes buzz cut, and you know shit gets real. As all gruff men do whenever something beautiful is taken away from us. Anyway, that's my review for Motor City. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Look forward to more, as I have many more. I will be watching Pinocchio Unstrung at some point. I promise you that. But nonetheless, thank you guys for showing up to another irregularly released review. I appreciate you guys as always, and as always, I will see you at the movies.